We are live, episode 17 of Hxro Labs Live. Coming on the air here, it is Random Task RT, myself, along with Nick.
Howdy ho.
Cote. How are you, brother?
Doing well this fine afternoon. Lots going on.
Happy Monday. A busy day in crypto as usual. Price action being somewhat friendlier than perhaps the bears had hoped.
Yeah.
So
we're looking like intraday throwback levels right now.
We're gonna pull that up. Yeah, really excited to hear your thoughts on this Uniswap index coin, or this perp that has been listed on FTX. I know you love trading there. I have an account there. I trade there here and there. It's not I'm a bit of an exchange whore. I like to flip around to a few different ones. But I will tell you this, they are moving fast over there at FTX, and in true FTX fashion today, they listed a perp swap just tracking the top 100 Uniswap liquidity pools.
Yeah, I think this is very similar to what they did with the DeFi perp. Taking a basket of all the DeFi coins and just putting it into one nice clean product, so people can get exposure to the space without actually having to do much due diligence or actually researching these projects or navigating all the swaps, the Uniswaps, the Mooniswaps, the Falcon swaps. There's so many different avenues to go down. You can kind of get lost in these rabbit holes. So FTX does a great job of condensing everything for people and making it easier to get exposure to these hype trains.
Yeah, no, I flipped onto this screen share here, and we'll just pull up. It's been trading now since about 11 a.m. And you're right. And I know a lot of traders who are hearing murmurs about Uniswap and maybe a little more traditional in their style of trading, and they're nervous about getting involved with these things. Maybe still stuck on the idea that to be legitimate, you need a listing on a major exchange. And that paradigm is changing now with these decentralized exchanges. And there is a lot to be said for waiting. I mean, I always thought of Binance as a good vetting tool for the most part. They didn't list anything, especially, I mean, fair to say that you're probably not going to get a rug pull on a coin that you're trading on Binance. It's happened. I don't know if there's an example. I know there's one or two that just like these, like freak sort of dumps TNT. But the projects are still there. So, I mean, there's definitely shenanigans on every exchange. That's the nature of money and markets. But so for what it's worth, FTX has put out this Uniswap Perpetual Futures contract. And it essentially tracks the top 100 assets. And you can read the details here in this article. We can include in the description after the video for anyone who's interested to see if your shitcoin made it into their index. So they've got the full list here, and I imagine there is some that will change coming in, coming out based on
liquidity pool size, I believe.
Yeah, and they're keeping the first 100 after removing the stable coins, after removing any that do not include wrapped ETH, so like non-ETH swapping pairs. So basically everything has to be swapping against ETH. That kind of keeps it balanced. And they're ordering by liquidity, defined by their tracker. So that was captured at August the 24th. I'd be very curious to know when they recapture that and then restructure it, and then how that would affect price. I was thinking about it earlier, just before we went on. I thought, an interesting question is, what if, God forbid, one of these projects with a larger liquidity just exited? Would that just like dump the price? Or if one of them, it's going to be interesting to see.
It would come down to the weighting of that project. So if you go back to the previous screen, you can see that they do have the weighting values for each contract there as well.
Oh, where does it show the weight?
I think you have to scroll down a little bit more.
I just see the name and contract. At the very least, what I thought was
here. So below are the weights for each pool. So if you go to the it's about in the middle of the page there. regardless if you find it or not, if you just click the information tab there, when you're just click the perp product, it's on there lower down on the page. So I guess the higher the liquidity pool, the greater the weighting on it.
Okay. So that makes sense. And then that way, some of these little shit ones coming in and out may not affect it. At the very least, it'll give you a legit look at the real contract. So if you're ever wondering, hey, I'd like to buy some BART token or trade for it, and you want to know for sure if you're looking at the right contract, they've listed them all out here, which in and of itself is a nice little tool. So I'll probably save this page for when I decide to look at some of these coins at another time. So that's making the news today. How to play this? I mean, at the very least, if you wanted exposure to some of the craziness going on over on Uniswap, you could speculate on this perp contract. It's a very new product. It's got less than 5 hours of trading live, so something to always be cautious with things that are new, but I think it's pretty straightforward. And I look forward to logging it. No, we'll see.
It seems like a good idea. And that's the great thing about FTX really is just how fast these guys can move. They're not like, a lot of these larger exchanges and funds, they have to go, countless meetings and legal sign off and all that stuff. These guys have done a really good job of listening to what people want and getting new products out very quickly ahead of their competition. So they're definitely trailblazers in the space right now and really eager to see what they bring out next.
Yeah, moving fast. It seems almost every week now, something that I've heard about from somewhere ends up on FTX. So
yep.
Definitely not a lot of red tape over there, at the very least on the surface. Looks like they are limber and keeping up quickly with the space. Now, I know I want to get into the majors with you, Nick, because I really like your take on the majors. Right now, just before we flip over, I just want to point out it might be the first time I've seen this. Now, you can get a MACD divergence, which is basically price making a lower low, the MACD making a higher low at the same time, showing that there may be a little more internal strength in the prices leading on, and that's called a bullish divergence. In some cases, you can get a double divergence. So you have a one. Now, these are sort of three separate ones. Basically, all of them confirmed now. And so last night, right off this sweet spot, I just thought, you know what? Sometimes I'll wait for the market structure to come in and get all these confirmations. And I actually just opened along an ETH BTC last night coming into this morning. Remember I told you that this morning. I said, oh, okay, woke up, market looks kind of happy. And I think for what it's worth, I think we do have to head up and test this level. That makes the most sense to me. We have got the confirmed market structure, which is exciting. I would have liked to see a higher low here. I mean, you could dig into this a little bit and just say, low, higher low breakout, which doesn't rule out some sort of little retrace first. But I'm feeling pretty good about Ethereum versus Bitcoin, given its higher time frame trend, and now all this signs of bullishness inside the momentum indicators as we slid into that RLZ. What do you see on the majors this morning?
Yeah, Bitcoin kind of just consolidating here. Not too much going on. But if we bring it down to the 4 hour, there's potential, for that head and shoulders back up to that 12,000. So, until we move back above this range here, above this 12,000, it's tough to be a bull. Series of higher lows, lower highs right here. So until we get above this level right here, 11.9, kind of on the edge. We just had that nice little throwback on the intraday movement. So this is kind of what I'm watching for. As long as this level holds right here, 11.7, I think it's going to be good for that run up back up to 11.9. But if we do lose this here, for me, that's going to confirm bearish continuation off this. And I'd be expecting a retest at minimum of 11.4 once again. So, pretty big level here. If you're long, it's pretty low risk entry. At this point, you're only risking what, $50, $50 downside for 200 bucks upside, $250. So that's pretty good. 4-1. Sorry, 5-1.
You've still got your bear goggles on. We had your report last Friday from the sort of US dollar bounce play and everything else kind of taking a cool down, which would make a lot of sense. I mean, we've been rallying for a while the dollar tanks. So it's like, okay, yo-yo effect, let's go. So that, I mean, is that still your macro view, your high time frame bias that guides you towards this kind of
Well, this is intraday stuff when we're looking down here at the hourly. My US dollar theory, that's definitely a macro to play out over the next 3 to 4 months. So that's still in play. Even today, I think the US dollar has had some nice upswings. So definitely keeping an eye on that. Commodities are looking a little weak as well. Obviously, the SPAX has diverged to new highs here, even in the past hour. We'll get to that in a sec. But yeah, if the US dollar does find a strong bid here, which I think it will because of all the debt refinancing that's going to have to happen here pretty soon in the emerging markets, I would expect Bitcoin to be headed lower.
And that's something that I was actually thinking about over the weekend. I thought, I don't know if we were like clear. I rewatched a bit of Friday, taking notes, looking for things we can, improve on always. And one of the things as I watched, I was like, man, that was a really bearish report. And fair enough. I mean, you did your research on it and you've got your angle on it, and you've spotted some things that I think are going to be lost on a lot of people until it's too late. And I think overall, I really like your thesis. However, I think it's important and maybe not emphasized enough that you could be right and the market could rally to 16K and roll over in October, November. And it would still be like, okay, cool. And here goes the US dollar. Like, this is a very high time frame theory. And it kind of reminded me of the movie The Big Short. And the guy's like, yeah, I spotted this stuff. No one else saw it yet. I went down the hole and I'm super short on the housing market. And then for 2 years he sweats, right? Then it turns out,
pain.
I don't, in many ways it's not the same as that, but you know what I mean? Like, good to clarify our time frames here.
Yeah, I agree. Like, again, this is the macro play, but the US dollar, it's the big daddy, right? It's the reserve currency of Earth. Bitcoin is not yet the reserve currency of Earth, so it will take a bow when it needs to. But the idea here, the idea here is that it's not necessarily that the USD could reverse to new highs. It's the idea that the US dollar is going to reverse here at this, monthly, weekly support level, which, that makes sense, and take out these highs here, as well as retest this bearish level. This was a year-long support level here on the Dixie around 96, right? And this thing just sliced through it like a hot knife through butter. So, from Wyckoff theory, this is how we, demonstrate our entries and exit strategies. We're going to be looking for something like this, right? So womp, back down, womp. Oh, no, don't. Oh, look at that. That's what you're looking for, right? So if we see rejection at this level, at that point, I'd be looking for the plunge, right?
And based purely on that drawing, where is that spike up in the time axis? Because our footer actually right now is covering the date there. What is that?
So that would, this would be around November, December. So kind of also in lines with the debts that are about to roll over here globally, especially in the emerging markets. Again, this is all public information. You guys can go look up this yourself. Just go to the Bank of International Settlements, look up their quarterly reports. I'm going to be keeping a very close eye on that stuff because, as we know, the quarter is coming to an end here in the next 2 weeks.
Personally, I'd rather, skip looking it up myself because that's a lot of hard work, and just come and hang out with you a couple days a week and get the latest.
Get the TLDR highlights, right?
I heard it's free too. You're actually coming on here for free just to hang out with everyone. So I appreciate you, Nick.
I love this place.
Thank you for doing this research because it's way over my friggin' head.
Yeah, so that's just kind of the idea. But intraday, again, Bitcoin, as long as it holds above 11.7, looks fine. Bullish momentum could take us back up to retest these highs here around 12,000. At that point, I'd reassess. So that's the play here. So if it loses 11.7, probably going to go back, retest 11.4, holds 11.7, probably going to go back up 12.1 or somewhere around there. So the high probability trade right now to take is definitely not shorting at the throwback level of 11.7. Wait for a breakdown, or you're getting long at that throwback level if you're bullish for a continuation pattern back up to 12.1. And then with Ethereum, it's leading in volatility. I prefer trading Ethereum over Bitcoin right now, especially with the underlying trends in DeFi and the Uniswap volume and all that stuff. So very similar thoughts here. As long as we hold above that 360, I'm pretty confident that he inevitably will be going back up to at least to retest that 420 area. But again, higher lows, higher highs. There's no real reason to be scaling into large scale shorts. If you are shorting, which I have been, it's been intraday movements and that's it, right? If it gets to your support level, just get out. Don't hope for the break. There's always going to be another trade opportunity. Like for example, why I say this, like the trend is clearly bullish, so you're counter trend trading, which is not great. So we're going to be looking for that 360 support, or if it breaks down, womp breaks down. You probably won't catch this unless you're already in a trade. It'd probably be pretty high velocity. So what you would be better off doing would be reshorting a retest of this level. And if we saw weakness come in and bears take over there, this would definitely be headed down back to 300. Ideally, draw this over, retesting this even, this former resistance level, which has not been tested, right?
Yeah.
So that's a
Still
gap.
waiting on that.
Yeah, that's a gap right there. And, Wyckoff theory says at some point this will refill. So that's kind of, and I think that'd be a fantastic long entry, especially considering, we pulled this thing out to the monthly. Wow, that looks fucking strong, doesn't it? So this is, again, why, we've been watching this level for a while. If you've been following us, that 450 area, we pretty much called the top right to the dollar. It's just a huge monthly level. If we can get above this, this is a weekly level, not as well highlighted on the monthly, but 550, 570 will be the upside target there. But yeah, this looks fantastic down here. So, getting a retrace back, it would be a blessing if you got down to 290, 300. Momentum might just take this thing up, but, we'll see. That's kind of our thoughts there.
Yeah, for finding structure on the high time frame, often looking for essentially a W formation where you get that low, you get the high, you get the higher low, then the higher high is the confirmation, and we're getting it on the monthly. And one thing I've learned over the last year and a half is even when I spot those confirmations and breakouts, it's not always just, it's often actually not the case where you should just run after it and chase it right away. Again, from the high time frames, you can get rollovers, pullbacks, retraces, and everyone thinks, it wasn't bullish after all. But it's like, no. This is when you pay attention. This is the retest, the shakeout. And for that, I use fibs. So I'm going to pull those up here when you are done with this next chart.
Yeah, so, the final chart that I quickly want to, I'll do two more, actually three more. So the other chart that you were looking at was the ETH BTC, a very similar idea here. It just seems that this has to be retested, doesn't it? Up there at that 352 level. Bears will claim that, they would create a head and shoulders pattern. So, womp, womp, womp. So where would the invalidation of this pattern be? Well, probably off this level right here. So, above these highs, turning this back to support. So say we blast it, I'll clear this again. What would invalidate this for me and get me super bullish on Ethereum once again and other altcoins, right? ETH BTC tends to be a leading indicator these days. Would be something like this, spikes down, oh no, rejected, oh wow, supporting exactly at resistance, W, and there she goes. Take out this high here and price discovery 0.04, right? So that's the most bullish scenario. This would be a fake out on the head and shoulders play. And that's kind of what we're looking for. Again, high time frames, moving back to the weekly. Still looks pretty good, right? We came into our first weekly target that we highlighted before this thing even started moving. The next level that we'd be really looking at, this thing could really fucking go on the next leg, right? We would be looking for this 5-2 level kind of up here. Oh, right around there. So, fantastic move. Once we break highs, look at the trade you got. You got another 30-40%. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. I don't really care what's happening here. Like there's you have a 1-2% range. Whoop-de-doo, call me when we break range, and then I'll get interested. So you've already gone over the Dixie, but let's take a quick look at commodities because we're kind of seeing some. Is Bitcoin going to follow the commodities? Is Bitcoin going to follow the S&P? It seems that the correlation narrative just flip-flops to whatever bias people have with their own positioning. Currently, the commodities, if we put this on a 3-day, and it's higher lows, lower lows, lower highs. what we're going to be looking for at this point, we'll keep it to the weekly since it's, more of a macro play of how we've been playing this for the past 3 months. If we do see that US dollar strength come in over the next quarter, where's gold headed? Lower. Where? Probably to 1800. This would be the most bullish thing that could happen. We would have a nice cool off. It would reset all the high time frame momentum indicators. We would have something like this. We break this level. People say gold headed to zero. They're wrong. It'll probably support around here like that. And if we do see this base form right here, this is the former yearly level. Look at that triple top before it, died. If this turns to support, I would say it's pretty much confirmation of the momentum that we would definitely be taking off from there. So that's gold. That's what we're going to be looking for. How long this could take, 3 to 5 months. This is, again, long-term stuff. But again, it's all at the will of the US dollar. Same thing with the S&P here. It just made highs. Congratulations. Trump is going to ride this narrative. He often confuses his followers thinking that the S&P is a measure of the US economy and the health of it. It's not. It's not. It's just a measurement of the corporate greed of tech stocks, basically, that's driving this thing these days. So what we're going to be looking for here, I say corporate greed because take a look at Intel, massive layoffs, and then they announce a $10 billion stock buyback a few months later. So yeah, fucking tyranny. So what we'd be looking for is this to come back. If we see support, the former all-time highs, bullish confirmation, this thing's about to go for the next 3 months. This is definitely what Trump and the Republican Party wants, because this is going to be a huge base for their narrative of getting people on their side, thinking, yeah, we're working for you. They're not. They're working for their companies that they've invested in and promote. So, yep, keeping an eye on that. If we do lose this level, though, head fake, this would definitely be headed back to that 3,300 at a very minimum. But for now, tech stocks just continue to crush it. Record high profits, earnings, et cetera, et cetera. So, it should just continue to be dragged higher into the election, at which point, we definitely expect volatility to spike. That said, hedge funds are net short volatility. This is the VIX index. It measures the average volatility. You can see it, we're still abnormally high versus, where this is actually traded for the past 15, 20 years. But it's been trending down for months. If it breaks this level, it's probably not going to be a violent drop. It's not really how volatility works. It's kind of just a slow bleed. But if we do see that US dollar rise, what's going to happen here? Sharp increase, especially if we see a dollar liquidity shortage coming in the next few months. This will spike. So a lot of people get washed out there. And that is, that's pretty much the macro roundup of what we're looking at right now.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think if the powers that be stand to gain from these highs coming in at the S&P, and we stand to reason that they can basically do whatever they want with it the way they have been,
they can.
Then, I like that bullish outlook, at least into the election, which wouldn't even really fly in the face of your DXY monthly, because that thing could park for a month or two.
I believe, I'm with everybody else long term. I think the US dollar is on its way out. We're seeing a rapid de-dollarization in international trade. People are looking for alternatives, you have record high interest in the euro futures and stuff. The euro is not, it's not the savior. Europe is just a collection of broke countries lending to other broke countries, right? Mm-hmm. It's just it's another house of cards, like all fiat at this point. But yeah, I think we'll see an acceleration and expansion of QE. I know the Treasury balance sheet, the Fed's balance sheets have been kind of, it's leveled off. But the idea of QE is that it stimulates growth. It stimulates banks to lend. That's not happening right now. So what's probably going to happen, yields are still pretty fucking flat right now in the 10-year and the 30-year bonds. Normally you would expect those to rise right now with the amount of QE, and the thoughts are there going to be rates? People want rates to go up. Well, that's not going to be happening right now because there's no borrowing. You can't, if you increase rates, that disincentivize lending because now money costs more to borrow, right?
Yeah.
So odds are we're going to see more rounds of QE. Rates probably going to stay down here at, what are they at, 25 basis points right now. Can they go negative? Yeah, they can. We already have $12 trillion in negative yielding debt. So people think the US dollar can't go, or sort of the US can't go to negative rates. They can. I don't know if they will, but it's definitely in the toolkit. Central bankers, they said it would never happen. If you listen to the comments now from Powell and other board members, it's not a hard no anymore. So they're opening up their toolbox a little bit more. So yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on for sure.
All right. Well, with that heavy dose of the legacy, the macro, the big picture, I want to dive into the nitty gritty of crypto.
Let's do it.
Right now, there are a number of coins doing very well if you are trading them against Bitcoin. So as Bitcoin ranges, and this is sort of what I've been hoping for, is that we would see Bitcoin get shocked out of its trend right here and then just get into this choppy range. It got rejected last week as we came out of the highs, and looking a lot similar to what we saw early June, which led to a whole lot more consolidation. And so I've drawn up this squiggly just to kind of illustrate what I think might happen here, which is just a little more sort of slow crawl up into September, start of Q4. And that's really the question time for me. And if I'm going to be shorting this thing, I would need it to be up here at range highs. I don't see any reason to do it in the middle here. In the middle, I just don't see the opportunity as far as risking my money in the market when I'm in the middle of this range. I'd rather wait short here, long here, or just trade these altcoins. So on the dominance, we are still ranging right down here below, which is now really resistance, as we've tested it a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
And if that continues to break down, here we are 96 days into the current risk on window, heading into the Century Club in about 4 days, which would mark the longest alt season or alt window that we've had in a long time. A really, really long time. I didn't even track these back then, but I mean, the last time we saw this was really December 17th. So this is a big window we're in. And if we break back above 62% and close, for me, that would mark what is possibly the ending. I don't know what that would look like in the chart. I just don't see it happening. Personally, I am still very much eyes on this chart, which is my high time frame bias on ETH versus Bitcoin, which is basically, again, we've zoomed on this before, it gets a little messy, but basically when you zoom in, it's just such a beautiful bottom formation in my opinion. And now that we've reclaimed this level, really it should be marked as support. And we consolidated there for quite a while. I mean, that's a 52-day waiting period. And now we've just broken out with an added volume, momentum staying strong. Yes, we're overbought, but as we know, we can stay overbought for a while. So my high time frame bias, even though I might be scalping some shorts and longs and hedging here and doing all this as a trader, yes. As an analyst, my bias is very bullish on Ethereum versus Bitcoin. How that reflects in the USD pairs is anyone's guess, but just purely based on this pair, I think that ratio is going to change and continue to change in a big way. And if this is the beginning of an uptrend, which I think it is, and we know trends like to accelerate with time as the FOMO grows, I'm still not ruling out my October 15th date for getting all the way up here. Call me crazy. That's what I see. That's the GAN 50/50. That's half the distance in half the time, and I'm sticking to it. Now, one coin that was just brought to my attention that I had been watching and I've actually taken my eyes off recently is FTT. And we brought up FTX earlier in the show, talking about their new perp listing and how fast they're moving. And they do have their own token, which essentially is, the closest thing you could get to equity in the company. It's not the same, but it stands to reason that if they are very successful and they continue to grow and their volume continues to rise, as we have seen, I might as well pull that up.
I call it like the difference between a traditional equity offering via common or preferred shares versus token equity. Token equity is more so for the network equity, the value of that network, and that's what you're buying into, versus with shares in the traditional equity sale, you're buying into that company. Well, I always see more upside, in crypto in network equity versus traditional equity at this point. And I think a lot of VC funds are also going down a similar route and thought process. You see a lot more deals going through either straight tokens equity or a mixture. And a lot of that's because it's more liquid. Token markets are more liquid, right? So why get locked up in a traditional equity market where it can be very difficult to find buyers of size for this stuff? You might not even be able to do it as a U.S. resident, et cetera, et cetera. But with token equity, wow, that's transferable. I can go anywhere in the world with it. It's really the barrier to entry is much lower.
Yeah, there's less regulations surrounding the tokens for sure. And unless you're using something like Securitize to monitor every wallet and have smart contracts basically monitoring every transfer, I know on Securitize, you have to KYC an address before anyone is even allowed to send tokens to it. But most companies don't do that. And in FTT's case, I'm not positive. I haven't checked specifically, but I imagine that they are transferable to any ERC20 wallet. Point is, their volume is rising over the last year somewhat steadily. I'd say off these lows, you can see slow rises. So that's something that got me interested in their token. And shout out to Fred in my TRI trade room, who just pointed out that we have in fact broken through this recent downtrend and printed bullish market structure on the other side. Now, if you look at the daily, and I bring him up, Fred, because he just pointed that out to me, and he's a trade buddy of mine who we've been looking at this, weeks ago, actually right here on this spike, and we didn't really see the trade come in. And if you see here on the MACD on the daily, you've got a confirmed bullish divergence. So it's a little small there. Let's pull that up. So you got the price coming in, making lower lows, but you can see the velocity slowing. So that's, again, that telltale sign as you're coming into this RLZ, this big retrace off the highs, and you want to see that momentum slowing down. So it's not like here where the momentum was actually increasing in speed. You see the MACD made a lower low. There was no divergence, and sure enough, the price wasn't ready to turn around. So here we've got the bullish divergence, which is a good sign. Not a guaranteed sign, but it's really nice. And now we've moved through this downtrend, and on the other side of it, we have printed bullish market structure, which means price put in what I will draw here. A low, a higher low. The bulls won this key level and have broken out. So I am bullish on FTT from these levels versus Bitcoin. I think it's got tons of potential. We just took a look at the volume. So the fundamentals behind the exchange, obviously they're growing. And as we've seen, even just with this Uniswap perp swap listing, I'm curious to see how much of the hype they capture with that. I mean, it's clearly strike while the iron's hot. Everyone likes trading on Uniswap, but a lot of people don't know what it is and they just heard about it. Maybe they just want exposure. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on the volume that this swap product is getting, let's say over the next couple of weeks. We'll keep a close eye on it. Very curious to see how popular it is and how much, of course, if it goes up a lot, that will likely add to the hype around it. So that's something we'll be keeping an eye on. FTT. Now, another one, and this again, full disclosure, I took a long in this other coin today. Oftentimes I will talk about the things I'm long on because I long the things I'm bullish on, and most people want to hear about things that look good. So SXP is one that I like. I think I have to double check. I might have been.
While you get that chart going, I have one ready here for ENJ.
Yeah, let's flip over to ENJ, and I'll find my SXP swipe.
All right, community chart. Let me know when we're good to go on that screen, Johnny.
You're up.
All right, perfect. So ENJ, wow, what a nice bottom it's put in here, right? I really like that structure. It held these lows down here at 888. God forbid whoever dumped that. Right now, we've broken out of this. Is probably the key level to hold, isn't it? Right here. Anything below here and sound the alarms. Something awful is happening in this market. So anything below 3,600, probably want to exit. It's probably headed, to zero or something. Right now on this though, strong reaction here. You can see we had the breakout. Why chase it when that's going to come back and retest it, right? Every time. So sure enough, boom, there's the spring off the retest. Look at that, almost to the fucking pip. Amazing. So that indicates very strong momentum here. The bulls are in charge. Where's this headed? Well, look at this. It's headed to 8,100 sats from here. Amazing. So why is it headed there? because this is a key order block. This is probably a weekly. This goes back 2 years right now. You can see how much price reaction we've had to this level. Tick, tick, flips it back to support, blah, 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 turns resistance. So if we can get back into this box here and turn this to support, where's it going to go from there? Well, it's going to rocket all the way up to 13,200. Why? Because it's just the next weekly range, right? So that's what we're looking for here. You got an 18% movement from, this high right here to where we're targeting. That's an okay trade, I guess. But what I've already missed this entry here, right? So I've already scratched this off my books. I'm not going to be looking at this until, probably at range highs. I'm going to add an alarm there. And this is something that I do consistently. I just look at charts, look at levels, add an alarm. If I've already missed the entry, I'll come back when the alarm goes off. So if we build a but yeah, the trend is bullish right now. So hodl on.
Beautiful. All right, flip me on here.
Looks like we have a lot of requests for dots. That's another thing.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely going to be some dots coming up right after SXP. Now, this is one that I missed coming out of the gates. And of course, you can get a lot more history. Actually, that might be, is that where my chart is hiding on KuCoin? Yeah, there we go. Okay. I knew I put a little chart together with some extensions. Just looking at it yesterday, I mean, again, pump chaser fib didn't really capture this one nicely, but this is right around where Binance came out and said, hey, we're buying Swipe and we're going to make it as big as we are. So it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody that it's performed extremely well. But I personally slept on it. And that's sort of a habit of mine. If I don't catch the exact breakout and then I missed it and I don't circle back to it for a while. And I don't really care because I'm in this space. There's tons of things going on in here. There's tons of opportunities. Lots of things are going to be the future. And all I need to do on a coin like this is capture a big enough move that I can then have a free position, whether that's 100% and I sell half on a double, or however I want to work that. There are ways to capture investment bags of a coin for free. And I'll show you what that looks like here on Swipe, at least what I'm hoping. So let's just say I get long here. Once it increases to this level, if it ever does, which it could or could not, then I can sell half my position, take back the original investment that I put in, or in this case, long position, just like more of a trade. And then that's a free bag. I keep whatever's left. I've got, just say I put in $500, it turns into 1,000, I take my 500 back. So that basic, simple concept on risk management or sort of planting seeds. And so I've been patient with SXP, waiting around because it's been in this big uptrend and then quiet, missed the second wave. And you tell me, is it respecting this fib extension? So if we draw this fib on the first to the high, the next wave came right into that zone. So I'd say we are on par with fib extensions. So let's do that going into the next move, if there is one. If we break ahead of this, would that get me my double? Would that get me my free position? Can I then say I captured a piece of Swipe? If I think it's going to be the future in the next few years, it doesn't really matter where I get it, as long as when I get it, I can de-risk it and it's a free position. I'll add it to my portfolio that just kind of collects dust. We'll see where it ends up. So I do like this move up into the next range, and I'll tell you real quick why. After a nice little cool down retrace, we've got some bullish divergence on the MACD, again, showing that we're slowing down as we enter this space. We have moved through the downtrend line, confirming bullish market structure, not yet on the other side, right? Ideally, I'd like to see some bullish structure on the other side of this trend line that says I'm not a bear, and I am in fact a bull. But given the bullish sort of undertones behind Swipe, the connections with Binance, the $200 million market cap, I think relative to what it is and who they're partnered with is still kind of small. I like it here. I did take a long position on this retest this morning. We'll see how it turns out. I'm bullish anywhere through here. I think a loss of these lows would change my mind, and I might have to eat shit and walk away for a little bit and wait for another setup to come through, and it does happen. But I like Swipe. So for those of you who asked for SXP, that's my take. What we really need to see here is some bulls step in. They've kind of fallen asleep. Not a lot of buy volume. So I'm actually expecting to see that if we're going to move up and maybe break these highs, I'm going to need to see some big buyers step in.
Yeah, looks good.
Now I'm getting a lot of requests for DOT, and you are basically
the DOT king,
Dostradamus over here.
Noting DOT for people
very well connected to the DOT situation in the market, and it just started trading. So I think it's suitable that you take it away here for Polkadot.
Yeah. So, you know, quick little analysis. So first I want to explain these candles here. You know, a lot of the other charts, especially on the perp chart, you know, this was trading at, you know, $300, $400. What happened was not a massive dump. It didn't die 99% overnight on launch. They did a redenomination of their supply. So 100, I believe is 100 to 1. And that's why you have this contraction. So, you know, times this by 100, where's DOT's trading? $450. That, you know, if you were taking into the account the previous supply, right? This market looks extremely bullish. You know, we got the former highs here supporting down there at 3.7. Just made new highs, I think, in the last 4 hours. This looks super strong. I wouldn't want him to be short this market anytime soon. You know, if it does lose 3.7, okay, I'm going to reassess things, and I'll probably be looking back for a 3.2. But for now, you know, this looks really good. You know, breakout, retest, moving back up, already taking the highs. At this point, you know, we're looking for 4.7 to hold. I think this is headed to $5 plus in the very, very near future. I think its valuation it's just hit the top 20. Same thing with Kusama, which is another, it launched before Polkadots. You know, it's the quote unquote test net of dots. They also did a redenomination about a month and a half ago to stuff. So, you know, super bullish on Kusama, super bullish on the idea of relay networks and parachains and dots. A lot of these funds were scooping this stuff up. You know, the ICO price was around $33, $35 back in 2017. You know, they're up to 15x right now. A lot of these big funds were scooping this stuff up in volume, sub $50. And from my
what are the lockups on that?
There's no lockup. Ooh. It was all unlocked from the 2017 ICO. There was conditional lockups if you were purchasing directly from the Web3 Foundation, which is the company behind Polkadots, run by the former Ethereum founders. Yeah,
I'm going to be honest with you. I really, sorry to interrupt. I really want a free bag of Polkadot. Now, I don't just get to have a free bag. I've got to earn it. I've got to buy it at a place where I think I can capture enough size in the gain that I can then sell half on a double or something like that, you know, a third on a triple, whatever you like. Mm-hmm. Let's get speculative here because this thing is already being talked about in the conversation with Ethereum.
Top 10 by the end of the year.
Top 10 by the end of the year. Okay, so let's talk market cap. Where are we now with Polkadot roughly?
I think we just hit the top 10. Quickly pull it up. I apologize. I'm using CoinMarketCap.
It's showing 8 on CoinGecko here. At 4 billion.
Is that fully diluted or available supply right now?
It just says, yeah, it doesn't have the fully diluted listed. So my guess is it's based on the circulating.
Yeah, like its market cap is just over 4 billion, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely see this headed to a $10 billion network.
Okay. That's what I wanted to hear because I did look at it and I thought the other day and I was like, oh man, this thing's kind of moving. Let's pull it up on my screen here. And there's
Yeah,
not a whole lot to do on this chart. And I just thought, okay, we were talking about it last week. We know how hyped it is. I think I'm just used to seeing things come out. I mean, it's still my bear market PTSD. I'm just used to these listings coming out, and there was the pump, and now we just sell off. Polkadot's a different beast. And I actually looked this on the weekend again, just not never really rushing into new things, especially when they're newer charts. But I wanted to get into it today and pick your brain because bottom line is this is going to be a narrative. It's going to be a big deal. And if I'm going to FOMO, I want to FOMO early. I guess is the takeaway. And as you can see again, man, this friggin' pump chaser fib.
And it's tough, right? It's already at a $4 billion market cap. This thing just rallied like $2 billion market cap over the past day. So, buying it here, tough. Do I think it's going to go higher? Yes.
Yeah, that's sort of why I was like, okay, well, we'll just take a look at it and I'll see where an opportunity comes up, because it is already a multi-billion-dollar market cap. And despite the hype and the excitement, I don't know what the hell it does. I mean, interoperability is obviously the centerpiece. But again, just not one to rush into multi-bill caps, especially when you get things that are down in the 1 to 10 million that are just seem to be turning out X's. But I would like to have this in my portfolio long term. So I am going to be looking for trade opportunities on here. I think pump chaser fib is probably a safe bet when things are moving fast, when there's a lot of excitement. Rather than chasing highs randomly, wait for them to come in, draw this up, get that 382 continuation. If you want to be aggressive, that is an aggressive play. Typically, I trade these down here, slightly less aggressive, and they often line up with old supports and resistances, arguably this little point here. So that's my 2 cents on DOT. I do think you're right. I think probably just going to blast off here, to be totally honest. And I'm not long on it just yet. So everyone just chill out already with the dots.
Yeah, it's super interesting. Normally you would see these early sell-offs when you have such a large amount of the supply being unlocked early on. But again, it's important to know who holds the supply. It's not retail speculators as much. A lot of them sold, this thing had 1.5 years of OTC two-way volume. So a lot of that got redistributed to much stronger hands, and with funds that have more of a long-term, 5-year outlook on this stuff. And again, someone's asking for Atom and ALGO. Well, Atom, Cosmos Network, it's a very similar play. If you've been following us for a while, we're just bullish on these protocols and the application layers on top of them, and Polkadots, Ethereum, Cosmos Network. They all fall in the same category, as well as investment strategy as well. Polkadots and Atom have been on our radar more so than Ethereum, just because they're younger, they're more infant. There's a lot more, not a lot more projects, but they're just earlier. So the opportunity is much greater. Buying in at $0 market cap versus buying in at $200 million market cap
presents a different risk and return sort of view. Now, look, Atom just confirmed a very big W yesterday. So I definitely wanted to pull that up today. So I'm glad you asked. Moon over Minsk. Now, it has smacked into this fib extension, drawn off this on the weekly. So on the high time frame, to me, this is a wait and see. Not really a wait and see. I mean, it's definitely bullish, but again, not chasing this pump, but getting into this pump chaser zone, confluent with previous SR level here, is sort of my first ask where I would look. So I think what I'm going to do right now on the air is make sure that I have my bid set or my alert set. So I'm going to go to 57. And if we break, actually, I kind of want to know if we break below these highs first, because we may not. And if we're not going to, I don't want to get left totally behind. But again, another one, I'd like to get a free position. I've been trading it, but I haven't secured a free bag. And 63.50, and then I think 56. And that'll help me track it, because like I say here, let's see, 56. I said here before a couple times. Sometimes I do miss these things because there's just a lot going on in the market. So when I use alerts on TradingView, it helps me keep track. And that is what here, 70, let's say 74. So now I'm going to know if it takes off. I'm going to know if it breaks these recent highs back down. And I honestly expect it will. I think, and I've said this before, right here, you get a lot of hype baked into it. There are a lot of sellers in this coin right now, potential ones that are maybe holding from a pretty bad entry. And if it rolls over, they'll be quick to exit. accelerating that move. And, you know, it'll be guys like me, hopefully, sitting here in this zone looking to grab that dump at a loss where I pick it up and I'm in a good position where I can hold it through to some continuation. So those are my thoughts on Atom. It's a boring thing to talk about right now because it basically means I have to do nothing for a few weeks. But as you can see, I've got my alerts set, and I actually really like this level here, right around 56. So we'll keep an eye on Atom and come back to it when the time is right. And as you know, if you've been following us on TradingView, we've actually been following Atom for quite a while. I have to go all the way back down here. You can see this is the market structure that initially sort of grabbed my imagination, looking for this GAN 50/50, similar to the one on ETH from earlier, and you can see it's off the charts. It's gone. So yeah, been watching Atom, going to continue watching Atom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that an Elliott wave? A, B, C. Let's hope so. Fill my bags. What else we got here today, Nick? Do you got any other alts that you've seen come up in the chat? We've got lots of, it looks like you said yes to ENG, which just had Binance announcing that they are going to support the fork. Or, well, not the fork, the mainnet swap. So that was a big thing holding it back. There was this huge arbitrage between KuCoin and Binance over the last little while because KuCoin had swapped to the mainnet tokens, but Binance was still trading the ERC20 Enigma tokens. Yeah. Perhaps we can get you onto.
Looking at Ren quickly. I didn't see it there, but we were talking about it last time, and I still think it's the one to watch. Why? Because of this chart right over here. Look at I'll pull up Ren. Yes. Look at that. That's demand. That is demand for Ren protocol. I want a piece of that demand. What am I going to go do? I'm going to go buy network equity via tokens. Am I going to buy it right here? No, I'm not a pleb. I can be patient and wait, right? So I want to buy supports. I want to buy your liquidations. That's what I want to buy. So where am I looking? This is a daily chart. Your daily level, coming down at 3415 all the way down to 31. That's an okay buy. If we have a strong momentum in the market, which I think we do, especially if the majors hold these support levels and we don't dip too low, I think this would hold. I do have some bids set in here. If this fails, the market rolls over, the US dollar surges to new highs for whatever reason. This was really the great spot. I'm not sure if you're going to get this rebuy. We've already tested it a couple times. It was really the spring catalyst right here for this move. So, I'm going to tamper my expectations and just be looking at this, 3,200 to 3,400 range right now. But yeah, like the demand is clearly there, right? This thing isn't going anywhere. I only think it's going to continue to climb with the amount of wrapped Bitcoin going through their protocol. And, this is one of the most aggressive teams. If you look at their GitHub, they're explosive. They're always, they're active. It's not like, Litecoin, where there's hardly anything going on over there.
Lightning Network, sir.
Yeah, like Lightning Network is great. I think it's going to be a great application for Bitcoin, but there's a long road ahead. And until Bitcoin has another fee, people are complaining about the fees again. It's just something that people kind of forget about.
So are we going to move away from the Bitcoin, gold, Litecoin, silver narrative? I always found that one a little weird.
Yeah, I think Litecoin is more of like a copper.
I don't know that silver and gold compare in that way as much as just maybe in like people's minds, but it's like, super strange. Never did hold a whole bunch of Litecoin. And we're back. All right, so here we go. At the trend line flip from this last consolidation on Ren, you pull up to the highs, which again, just ridiculous. And if I sound like a broken record, just make sure I'm playing a good tune is basically my rule. And with this extension, we smacked right into the 618 and now have pulled back 382. I mean, if you ever want to just play around with the fibs, they are fun. I don't know if we'll get a pure continuation from here. Obviously, that is the most aggressive buy I would make, is right at this level here. But based on what you've been talking about, Nick, and sort of the TA you just did, I think we can get a sneakier buy in here, especially because it seems to be the market that if things aren't pumping, people are being very impatient right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of, like, oh, everything's moving, so I've got to sell if my thing's not moving. So with that in mind, you really, I think, are safe to make the patient play on some of these coins. But if you want to be super aggressive, this little zone coming up here is pretty sneaky. Now, let's see if I can find old Ing chart, because I definitely had one. And we're watching it again. I was watching it down here in this RLZ last month, and it kind of did like a little fake out dump and just looked pretty awful. But I was not surprised to hear that Binance is going to support the swap. And sure enough, that's going to be a bullish reaction for this coin, which at this time is still the ERC20 token. So it's going to be interesting how this token performs. I believe their new token is not ENG. Somebody in the chat can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's got a different ticker. So is this chart, is the price of this coin, what's going to happen to that through that swap? That's something to take a look at. I'm going to make a note to look into that. We can talk a little bit about that on Wednesday.
Good idea.
For now, it looks really bullish. And if I was going to be a profit taker, because it's important to pay yourself when you're right,
Cha-ching.
let's see what our fib extension draws up here. And once again, we can take a look on Wednesday. My guess is that this will be a smack zone. You won't get long up here, but you will have a chance to exit here, is my guess. And there's actually a little chaos level up here from this consolidation. So pretty sweet levels on ENG. And that would also be confluent with some old dusty resistance right here at the 618. And that has to be red to remind our brains. So there's a level on ENG. If I was a sniper who picked this up earlier and I wanted to make sure that I got paid, I would have to take some profit around here. Me personally, that's how I would trade that, if anyone was wondering. SCRT, secret token. Yeah, so let's take a look here. I doubt it's trading anywhere. Nope. When it starts trading, we'll be here to chart it. Until then, I'm very curious to know how this translates into that as far as price. It's a bit of an unknown, which tends to me to be kind of like take the hands off, risk free, or keep the risk low, because I don't really understand how that will work. For now, though, this has been a great trade, pretty standard issue, divergence, structure, RLZ, go, and it's coming up very close to a very high quality profit taking level. Let's call it a key level so that it doesn't sound advicey.
Yeah, key levels.
Now, what do you got over there in your chart?
Levels. Another community request here, RDN. This is a market I've never looked at, but wow.
Raiden.
Yeah, Raiden Network. One of my favorite Mortal Kombat guys back in the day.
The Ethereum scaling solution or something like that from 2017.
There's a few of those. Anyways, yeah, it looks good, doesn't it? What a nice rounded bottom there. Didn't break, whatever that was. It's listing low, I guess. Similar to what we were talking about before. I feel that if you're not already in this trade from down here, I'm not going to be entering it here. Yeah, the momentum looks good, but we're 14% away from yearly resistance. God forbid you're getting long at yearly resistance. But what I would be looking for would be, you know what? We're going to get the drawing tool out. I love drawing these things for you guys. So the real trade, this is probably going to continue, go up here. Going to come back down a little bit. And, going to get rejected. And the W. The W is key, right? Why? Because the right portion of the W confirms the left portion. It's confirming the level. And this is where either you get long here on the retest of it, or you can get long on the break of the horizontal. So you have two entry opportunities off this type of pattern and trading style, right? You got the double bottom support, and like your risk is so low, right? Because you're getting long at support, not at the yearly resistance, right? So if this thing breaks the support, give yourself a couple percent, because these things are probably, much less liquid than the majors. So there's some variance there. But yeah, once it confirms, or just, go along with the break, you're still going to get a 35% move off that. That's fantastic. And that's what I'm going to be looking for here. So, right into $1 if it can break this yearly resistance here. So that's kind of what we're looking at. If it really wanted to get crazy, where's your next target going to be? Right here, right at that weekly level. And the thing is, there's not a lot of price history on this. It kind of just went vertical and then vertical back down. So with these older coins, you tend to have, a few more bag holders. I'm sure there was a lot of shakeout down here. I don't have the volume, but I would suspect, it slowly started the ramp as this happened. So that's, telltale sign of accumulation.
What exchange is that you're looking at? I feel like there must be an older chart. Unless you're looking at super high.
I believe this is Binance.
Like maybe Bittrex or Polo even. I swear Raiden's been around since I was born.
Yeah, you're right. It's been around a while, but odds are
either way. Yeah, just sometimes those older levels can help. But yeah,
I hear you. I probably should be looking at that. Anyways, this inevitably will dollar magnet target. So keep that in mind. If it breaks the yearlies, look for $1. If it doesn't break here, it comes back, shows some support around 55 cents or something. I would take a punt at that. So, I don't know the fundamentals of this coin, but, that's what the technicals are telling me.
Okay, perfect. Well, it is 5:01. We are going to start moving towards our wrap for the day. However, Nick, I challenge you to a rapid fire round. We've got a few requests here in the chat. We've got ALGO, AKRO, Nixon, Siacoin, SC. I've already got ALGO here, so I'm going to kick us off. You pick one of the other three.
Okay, AKRO.
And we are going to do a rapid fire to finish here. So ALGO is up in that fib extension. So this is actually one I have been watching from this breakout level. Again, beautiful setup back when people weren't as eager watching the markets, but it was June 28th, a long, long time ago, early on in our window. When was June 28th? Right here, just before the big breakdown, right? And so this is, again, just to look real quick at the dominance, this is why a forecast like this can help, because you're saying, okay, we're in a risk on window, time to start planting seeds. There's a good chance this thing's going to go nuts. And you had 2 weeks before things really took off. Now, at that time, ALGO on the flip side was parked beautifully right down here in this RLZ, right off the sweet spot, put in a cute little W, and it has not really looked back, except for that beautiful friendly entry that it gave anyone that arrived late. Why we don't chase. So right now, up at the fib extension level, was rejected, which is just, again, people doing what I'm doing, which is taking profit at these levels. Smart. So that you make sure you get paid, you let the market roll over, you get those chintzy little bids set, maybe off old resistance and supports. I think 43 now has already had its tag, so it's going to be interesting to see. Now I'd have to look at something else. Let's see if we can get momentum, making higher highs, OBV, nothing too special. In other words, not good, not bad. I think this thing looks really bullish. It still does. It's gone up here. Yes, first rejection. Now let's see. What would an extension look like from here for another wave? Probably.
I think that coin has a very long linear vesting schedule on the sales as well, which is good.
Good for people that want to not get sort of
burned by pre-salers.
Dumped on in that. See, now look at that. And it's crazy how many times these things line up. But you get the low here from sort of this last little move up to that high, gathering that energy, spewing it out in a 4669 chaos fib, and it fits right in. So if I was going to look for higher highs and some big wickies into what would probably be into the fall, I would say that. Now that would align with my high time frame thesis on Ethereum into October 15th. Again, we've also got the election November, I think 3rd, something like that. So if we're going to rally everything up into that, S&P just made new highs and everything's just going to be a big fun party. This is where I'd be looking on ALGO and things just like it onto that next big extension. And that would actually make sense here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, blow off top, roll it over into the new year, tax selling, doom, rah. That's my rapid fire on ALGO.
All right. Yow. While you move on there, I got an AKRO BTC chart. It's another chart, never heard of. another project. It's up 7x. What a rally it has had. Again, it supports our entry techniques. This was the former, resistance level, was there for about, a quarter.
Is that a weekly?
Yeah, this is a weekly. You wouldn't.
Okay, I was going to say, that does not look like the AKRO chart I have, but I have a daily. Continue.
Yeah, so, it broke out these ranges, retested it, and look what happened. It's never looked back. How can you get into this one? It looks tough. Just from a weekly chart, again, there's not a lot of data here, unfortunately, at these levels. But I would just be looking for, that 22,000 level. It just looks so strong. I don't know where this is going to top out. I don't even know what this project does, but yeah.
It's Polkadot.
It's a Polkadot.
It's Polkadot related. Yeah,
that's
it's on my short list for Pokies.
Okay. Yeah, so
there's your narrative.
Yeah, looking at this at the daily level, you can see, it looks a lot cleaner than the weekly. Double tap. So this is exactly what we're talking about. Look at this thing. Like, if you want confirmation that we're not talking out of our ass here with our entry techniques, breakout, retest, back up, W confirms the original bottom.
Boom.
Goes. Literally the same pattern every time across markets. Why? Because the market participants are people. People can be subdivided into, a few select categories based on behavior. And from that, we can anticipate what their actions will be. That is why you see fractals in the first place, is because people are fucking basic.
Well, we are really just an extension of the rules of physics. Somebody blew my mind with that one day. They're like, okay, so you don't believe in fate? I was like, nah. They're like, well, if you believe that physics are sort of this, finite set of rules or this indefinite set of rules that has to be followed, then doesn't it stand to reason that your cells and everything that make up every single possible action you take just the result of a rule that exists? So therefore you have no control over it. And I was like, oh, stop it. But it is why I find trading fascinating, because yes, you can't predict every single move and every single action every single person will take, but en masse, human behavior is actually quite predictable and repeatable. And that's why we have market cycles. And that's why we have what you just showed, which is really how to trade and spotting it. And what's incredible to this day, even though I have a plan, even though I follow my trading plan, the urges I have, the emotions I have are still very much the opposite of what they should be. You come back down to test that level. Oh my God, it doesn't look bullish at all. Maybe I should get out. And then I just look back at my plan. I'm like, no, don't be dumb, buy more. And, I add to the, like fighting those instincts takes training, takes practice, takes repetition. And we will be very repetitive on this show for that reason, because a lot of the times it's just the same shit on a different day. With that, I've got Nix here. I don't know what to say about Nix, except for that it's stuck down in this range low area since October 19th. So a quick and dirty draw up. My first thing I see is a very clear resistance level here. I actually saw this happen. Now, I know BTC Jack Sparrow tweeted about it, but he didn't even say the ticker. He's very conscious of his following and not trying to create any price action with his tweets. He posted a totally blank chart. I couldn't tell you the exact day, August 6th, I'm guessing. And then it was like an hour or two later, it just pumped like crazy. He said something about like, I can't wait till this awakens. And then intentionally covered the ticker because he didn't want anyone to like, go and pump and dump it or whatever. Anyways, looks like, and then he laughed. He's like, guys, I can't even tweet blank charts at you guys anymore. Somebody found it. And sure enough, it's like, oh, Jack's tweeting about Nix. That's what I have to say about Nix. I think honestly, that might be this. And I don't know, maybe it was the day before, whatever it is. Point is, it's stuck below this level, and I'm not that interested until it leaves that level, or at least starts approaching it and consolidating just beneath. For example, if we were to move up here and just hang out right here and not get rejected, to me, that's that building up of strength before we move through. So that's my 2 cents on Nix. Just as a quick and dirty rapid fire, I think there's a lot of opportunity cost if you're trying to buy these lows. If you're an investor and you're like, I love this project, I think it's going to moon. Hey, take your shots against these lows. They look pretty safe right now. But if you're a trader who's trying to play in a hot market that may not last forever through this year, this is a lot of opportunity cost here. I'd like to wait till it gets above this level personally.
Yep, agreed. Finally, to wrap things up, SCBTC. What an old school chart here.
Classic.
This is just, look at this. Like, whoa. And then gradually it died. People lost interest.
The
But I guess
inflation is insane on this one,
yeah.
is all I remember.
Oh, I know, like a lot of people are looking at this again. You could make the case for 3 rising valleys forming. It's a bullish pattern. Right now, this it's one of the few markets that actually hasn't broken out, and it hasn't even given me a reason to get long on it yet. Unfortunately, it's still below all major resistance levels. It's in the crematorium. Like, are they doing anything interesting? So for what I'd be looking, if we did get above my trade plan, if we get above these levels, you got to trade there. So if we got above these, 49.50, which was, we've seen 2 big movements off of this. Catalyst for that run, support, catalyst for that run. And here it flips resistance. So I think that's why I believe this 48, 49, 50 sat level is pretty key. If I see price above 50, I'm going to say this market is turning bullish again, and I'll be interested in a long trade. Other than that, I'm not really interested in this thing below 50. People will say, oh, well, it's better to buy cheap. Yeah, but I'm just not seeing the signals of a bullish momentum here just yet. This is a weekly chart. Let's take it down a little bit. Maybe I'm missing something on the daily. No, I'm not. So a series of lower highs, lower lows here. But this is the only positive thing that we're seeing here is these rising lows right here. So I'd say as long as 26 sat holds, if you're already in it, you're probably safe to hold. If it goes below here, I'd probably get out, never look at it again. And then if we move above 50, then I think it's just I'm not interested in this thing.
Yeah, that's fair. And my quick and dirty from 2017 on Siacoin is that it is, I got the vibe that it was like a frat boys cloud storage solution. And I say that respectfully. The founders at the time, I remember them being just some young guys that had come up with this. It was a little buggy. I tried their wallet in 2017. The inflation's insane. I think now they're up to 44 billion. So not loving or hating, but as a trader, I agree with you. I think there's opportunity elsewhere while it's making its consolidation play there. And with that, I think we'll end on the Uniswap protocol homepage real quick, because I just want to mention that we did just make a new high on liquidity. And let's refresh and get the fresh volume reading for today. We are pushing 144 million on this slightly upgraded UI here. So kind of more interactive and sexy, which is just a stark reminder that Uniswap will continue to develop, and the copycats are coming in hot and heavy. We've got Just Swap from TRX announcing that they're going to be a thing. We've got Mooniswap coming in. I think that's Polkadot, is it not?
It's the exchange from 1x, the decentralized exchange.
1x, okay. And then, of course, there's a bunch of other DEX kind of projects in and around. Uniswap is basically the proof of concept saying this can be very lucrative and popular. So we'll see how this develops in the future.
Yeah. Now, besides a good point, we kind of talked about that before the stream, was the demand for these type of products. Like Mooniswap's already at 80 million. I think it's like closing in.
Ooh, okay. Let's pull up Mooniswap. I have yet to visit, and I would like to. Let's take a peek.
But I definitely predict that there's going to be a lot of copycats in the near future following this model.
Yeah, I mean, think about centralized exchanges, right?
Yeah,
You get that sexy new ICO for after Binance Coin did so well, and its ICO is hundreds of X. And then all these new exchange token ICOs came out, and then by the time they launched, you're like, holy shit, there's 700 centralized exchanges. No doubt that we'll see something similar. Let's see if we can find Mooniswap. Ooh, it's clean. Looks basically the same. But it's developed by 1inch. If I recall correctly, 1inch was the place where you could put limit orders on this stuff, is it not?
I haven't actually used it myself. Maybe Messiah can put one in there.
Yeah, not sure where I'd like to learn more about this on the home page, sort of. Let me see that metric, that tracking.
It's clean enough UI.
Perfect.
It's a next generation. Look at that. We've already gone from Gen 1 to Gen 2, or are we on Gen 3 now? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, right? Blockchain 3.0 was like the hot term at the end of 2017. So I wonder where we're at now, 6.0 or something. But yeah, very cool. This is going to continue developing and we will be all over it. So with that, let's flip back to our main screen as we say goodnight on Monday. And we will be back on Wednesday. What time, guys? We're going to change up the time again. What was it? We're going to move a little earlier. We had a few people requesting last week, a little earlier in the day for our friends over in Europe. And I think that will land us at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Or was it 2 p.m.? 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Wednesday afternoon. We will see you guys there. Have a wonderful day. And remember, always play from a position of strength.
Don't fall.